Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jacob, joined as always by Carver. How's it going, man? How you doing?
Always great. Always great to be here with you, Jacob, and the listener. How are you?
Yeah, doing pretty good. And obviously, the season ended a couple weeks ago. It's been a little bit now. We're getting fully into World Cup, but we wanted to put it a little extra time as we got ready for this episode because it is, I think, some of the people's favorite episode of the year. It is
Hmm.
the annual review. I will just say this right now: if you're listening on audio form, we got a little presentation as we go through the year review. So if you want to head to our YouTube so you can see some of the little slideshow that Carver's put together with the results and everything. A little extra involvement, if you will. And I do have to address it. If you did not already read the episode, it is listed as the final episode. And yeah, you could read that as the final episode of the 25-26 season. But after much discussion, Carver and I have been having not only like the last couple months, but the last whole entire season, really, and trying to figure out how we approach this whole thing. Like this is the final the BVB podcast.
Sure.
We've been doing it. We started in 2021, so it's been over 5 years. But it's going to be the final BVB podcast, and it's a little surreal to say. I thought I knew what I was going to say, Carver, and then we started the episode, and I'm like, it's the final one. What,
I
what do you
know
got?
we're really relishing in the moment, and like just to take it for a second, like Jacob said, the decision wasn't easy, and it is something we discussed for a long time now. As time has went on, we've struggled to keep up with the consistency that we've set for the show, and we're regularly trying to play catch up, and that kind of takes away from the enjoyment and energy that we want to bring that made us want to do the show in the first place. And ultimately, I personally just don't think it's fair to expect listeners to invest time into something that we aren't regularly providing for a quote unquote weekly podcast. Now, to be clear, a lot of you have been incredibly understanding about this. Absolutely none of this is because of any criticism we've received or this has any resentment towards you, the listener. Your support has been amazing. If there's one takeaway from any of this, let it be that. The listener, your support has meant more than you probably realized. And I've enjoyed practicing writing and talking about my favorite sports club for some time now. And it's been a privilege knowing that people want to have it the care enough to listen and engage and read what we put out there. A lot of work goes into the show. Jacob, I know he's done a lot of the production of the show for quite some time too. And it doesn't mean I'm not interested in putting other work out there in the future, but this medium, podcasting on a regular basis, is just something that I think we're ready to step away from for now.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into a podcast, and well, hopefully to you, it just sounds like two guys chatting and have a conversation. There's a little more work behind the scenes, and it does take a lot of time. And like Carver said, like I do appreciate everyone who's been there with us, still checking in when with episodes when we can get them out. Because obviously this season we have not put out as much as I would say, like even our own expectations of what a this podcast should be. Like we've been putting out significantly less episodes. It has not been a weekly thing, and we've been pretty upfront with that. Like it's just been hard to kind of maintain and sustain because it does take a lot of work. And yeah, it's just something we haven't been able to keep up with, like I said, like to the professional level that we would want to. And yeah, with that, it's just time. We felt like with other stuff going on in our lives, like it's just kind of time to, like you said, put this medium aside. And I think one of my goals starting this show was, I've said it so many times, like in how I became a Dortmund fan, was like I just wanted to find other Dortmund fans and connect with people. And I knew Carver was a Dortmund fan, so because this is, Carver, how we've spent the most time together. We like vaguely knew who each other were, but I wouldn't say like we were really friends before this. And I just kind of reached out to Carver and was like, "Hey, you are a Dortmund fan, right?" And then I was like, "Oh, would you be interested in starting a podcast?" And that's kind of how it started, which has been awesome. And then with this platform, I always wanted it to be like a way for people to find a person, find people to connect with this club about. And since I mean, we've had so many more listeners than I ever expected, and with our Discord now, I feel like it's awesome that we've been able to provide that space. And I also look around at like the Dortmund creator content community that's out there. It's expanded way more as well. Like
Yeah, exponentially. Yeah.
we're not the only ones doing this thing, which is why I feel like we're also leaving it in good hands. But with that, like we're not leaving it completely. Like the Discord is still we're gonna
Yeah,
leave that thing going.
we should have been more clear that the community aspect of it all is not going anywhere. So yeah, the Discord, of course, and we'll still be out and about. And I know we have our fan clubs here. A big part of the community has been trying to get people to connect for watch parties, forming their own fan clubs, and that's definitely happening across the board here in the country, and hopefully even maybe some connections made globally too. So that part is not going anywhere.
Yeah, we're still going to keep the Discord running. We also have some, like you said, the medium of the podcast is going to change, but I don't think we're. I almost anticipate. I don't want to like speak too far ahead, but I anticipate like us taking a little break, cutting back, and then kind of getting that itch to still do some things. And I don't know. I can't tell you exactly. Like we have plans to make these videos, but we do still want to put some content here and there. Like you said, we'll be involved in the community and try to maybe push a little more in that area. And with that too, we don't have anything to unveil right now, but we are working on there. We'll probably rebrand it because it's obviously the BVB podcast. So we have a plan to rebrand it as a more community focused Discord group and page and whatever our social handles become. Like that'll all be rebranded. So that'll be rolled out in time. I don't have a set, like we know where we want to go with it, but we don't have our full design and everything fully baked yet. So that's to come. But
yeah, if you don't have anything else, we could switch gears to something that's more fun to talk about, or maybe not so fun to talk about, depending on how you felt about this season. But no, is there anything else where we're forgetting?
No, I think let's get into this episode. This is still a real episode. I didn't want to come out and be like, we're done. And then,
bye.
All right, cool. Or just like ghost you completely and never do an episode again, which I'm sure that felt like that a lot of times this season. But yeah, let's get into, like I said, this is always a fun episode. This is one of my favorites, the end of year review. And because there's been a couple seasons, Carver, where I did not partake in the review, whether it's because I was just procrastinating and I never got around to it. I kind of like that tradition of just going in with a full mystery. So I intentionally did not do the review on my own. And I'm ready for Carver to run things and me. It's kind of fun being on my feet and trying to guess what everyone's what their impact, what their feedback is going to be. So I love the blind reveal to me as I'm the one sitting here on the podcast.
Yeah. I'm always obsessing over what people are going to be saying as the results are coming in too. It's fun just kind of reading through people's comments. And we also leave open-ended questions as well to get more in detail or just any other thoughts that people have. But for any new listeners to the show, we put out a survey at the end of each season covering Borussia Dortmund, and then we share those results on the show like we're doing here. This time I got a little visual here to just give you numbers as we go along if you're watching on YouTube or whatever. The survey always starts with a 1 out of 10 rating for how you felt about how the season went. And then it kind of goes into a squad analysis with ratings of the players, and then ending with some general questions moving forward. So without further ado, welcome to the Borussia Dortmund 25-26 season review. With the first question, like I mentioned already, based on results, performances, and your expectations, how would you rate Borussia Dortmund's 25-26 season overall? Jake, do you want to tell me how you felt about the season first?
Yeah, I think I'll just come out. I'd say a 6 because I think how the season, we've talked about it where Dortmund's just been sitting like comfortably in second, like despite the ups and downs, you still finish second, which is better than where we've been in previous seasons. So you would think if you look at just the results and like where we ended up, it's like, oh yeah, maybe pretty good because compared to other seasons, pretty good. But I think that just like not really competing for anything. We had some downers in that last run in the last few games. We had some highs too in some of those games. So yeah, kind of weird, but I'd say 6. So yeah, looks like 63%, but a little closer to 6.
This was one of the responses that came out a little bit more unanimous. Yes, 7 out of 10, which over about 60% of our listeners said this season. And I share your same sentiments. There was an improvement from last year, but I still need to see us breaking through the ceiling and getting to that next level. You guys have all heard me say that 1.5 million times at this point. So 7 out of 10, I guess you could say that's fair, but we definitely need to be seeing more.
Do you remember the response from last season? Because obviously that was
look that up if you would have given me 2 seconds install.
That was, last year was obviously so chaotic, and I don't imagine a lot of people were like excited about it, but it ended on way more of a high that it wouldn't surprise me if that was a little more like a solid 70%, just because how it ended, or maybe with with how it ended and the expectations going into this season, I guess maybe we're higher. But
says last year, the listeners rated us a 6 out of 10 with 32% of the vote, and then 26% of the vote went to 7. So about that,
okay,
in that
about the same.
6.5 range. Yeah.
Which is also bad if we're saying this year and last year is the same, and we end solidly in second. Last year we were, how low were we when
Right. Yeah.
before we made
10th
that
or
crazy
something.
run?
Sure.
I mean, last year I had no hopes at that, whatever that point was. Like I was like, we're not making Europe. There's absolutely no way we make Europe.
I mean, yeah, you're not too crazy to be thinking that too. We were hoping for maybe Conference League at that point.
Yeah.
Going into the squad analysis here, this is the squad for this past season now. Starting in goal with Gregor Kobel. Now, I should say, sorry for the listeners, we're not doing every single player on this squad. I can't remember what the limit I had for like the metric that I used here, but you have to be a very regular player in this team to be a part of this, because this could be, much longer than it probably already is going to be. So like, I don't think I have a Sula on here, players that are playing at least, half the games throughout each season. So having that said, we have Gregor Kobel in goal, 52 games played this season, 15 clean sheets, highest in the Bundesliga. And in the Bundesliga, there were zero errors that led to a goal. I don't remember many major mistakes, of course, outside of the Atalanta blunder. He's been extremely reliable for the most part, and still is one of the most, if not the most, underrated keeper in world football. So results were split here between 8 and 9. So I went with an 8.5 out of 10. What do we think, Jake?
That is, I mean, when you look at the stats and the 15 clean sheets on top of the Bundesliga, yeah, it completely makes sense. I don't know why I feel like almost a quieter year from Kobel.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been seasons where like, God, he is like our player of the season. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the other guys being down a bit or underperforming where our expectations are. But it seems like he's always just been so solid and a lot more moments in years past where he's like saved games for us. And yeah, he's clearly done that. But like with these just show stopping saves or like performances where he's just like standing on his head, just out of control.
Sure.
But I'm also happy to know, like, yeah, he's, even if we didn't, maybe I don't want to say we didn't have to rely on him as much, but like still put in a solid shift, even if I'm not noticing him as much.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think he has, it does kind of seem like he's had a quieter season. And I think a big testament of that is just, Kovac, for the most part, stabilizing our back line. We do concede goals, and we definitely concede goals in very dumb ways at times, and very late moments of the game as well. But I don't have the stat in front of me, but I thought I read some that were limiting obviously a lot more shots this season, as opposed to ones in recent years. So there's definitely a collective effort there for the clean sheets, of course. Up next, Julian Rierson, our right back, with 47 games played, 18 assists. I put Bundesliga, but I think that's in all comps. 18 assists regardless. 22 big chances created, and then he won possession in the final third 17 times. He's had a very, very, very great season. Obviously a career record for goal contributions by a mile. Most of them were the results of the system and how Dortmund play their football, but still a very, very good season. And Couto coming in last year was giving him a lot of healthy competition, and he's kind of swiftly brushed that aside. Now, I think part of that comes down to Kovac obviously trusting Rierson more, for his defensive efforts and his frame and all that. And we'll get to Couto next. But I don't have much of any complaints for Rierson this season. So I would definitely agree here with a 9 out of 10, which is what 37% of our listener base gave him.
Nice. I would have said an 8, just not to get too carried away. But yeah, 9 out of 10 is solid. It's so good.
And we had a few people vote in 10, and we had a few people vote in 8 as well. So there was definitely some chunks on either side of that. But
10 out of 10 just because the jawline. Always. So
sure, makes sense. And the hair too.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that, other right back, Jan Kut, he had 27 games played, 2 assists in the Bundesliga, and then 3 goals. And he has really, struggled to have any sort of form this season. Of course, he hasn't really had much of an opportunity to show what he's capable of and how he's learning and growing in this league. But He struggled this first season. I think we all kind of saw that pretty clearly. And then Kovac has clearly not trusted him at all this year either. And for a man of his price tag at the time, what, 25 million for a flat fee, and then I think even with the add-ons in that package, it went up to around 30. I don't know how much of that we're actually paying for in those 5 million and add-ons and bonuses, but either way, a man of that price tag cannot be starting just 11 games in all comps this season. 11 games. And Rierson is obviously in the form of his life, but plenty of opportunities for rotation, and Kovac, went in other routes. So we had a 4 out of 10, which I think is harsh, again, mostly because he's not had the opportunity to showcase, but I'm not thinking too much higher, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's pretty low. I wouldn't have gone that low, but I think if you take into account like the price tag and everything, and we've said it before because he came in on his loan year, and then like it is going to take some time to, it might just take some time to get used to the lead, but with the price tag is the tough thing, because I think if you're looking, he is 24, but I think for a squad, not squad player, but just rotation, like, yeah, you want someone who's strong and pushing Rierson and fighting for that spot. But I think maybe you could find someone who's significantly cheaper, especially when you look at how much we paid for Rierson.
Yeah.
Significantly cheaper and maybe younger, that you can develop more. Like, I know he plays on the left side, but I go back a lot to Tom Rota, who we sold, but like he is a guy who we had in our system, who is still so young. And again, I'm just looking at that player profile and not necessarily him because he plays on the left. But it's like, yeah, is there someone a little cheaper and a little younger you could bring in? And he's not old by any means, but with that price tag and with him being more that rotation, it's like, that's tough.
Yeah, I've seen reports in the last few days that it looks like we're maybe entertaining some offers for him. And if this is what we're going to be doing more, going forward, of Kovac not fancying him at all, to even really have him start half of the games for each season, then we definitely need to be entertaining some offers and seeing if we can get some sort of ROI there, because right now it's looking pretty bleak, unfortunately. And I think he's got a bright future ahead of him still if he can get to the right spot.
I feel like in the beginning of the season, he did have a few chances too, because I felt like we saw quite a bit more rotation early on. I just have some memory of us talking back and forth, like, oh, is it going to be Rierson or Couto? Like we saw some decent moments from Couto earlier on, I think, and there was a nice balance of rotation. But it also felt like, because you weren't quite sure who was going to kind of take that spot, and then Rierson obviously did throughout. So like 24, what was the price tag on him? Just pretty high for a backup right wing back, I think.
Yeah. 25 and up to 30 and add-ons from what we're reading here. So, yeah, and this one's even more harsh. Valdemar Anton. This one, I got to call up the listeners. Love you guys for being with us all these years. I don't know what the hell you guys were thinking of this one. I disagree with the results of this rating specifically, probably more than any other one in the entire survey, if not, history of us doing the season review survey. He had 49 games played, which is a hell of a lot. 14 of those were clean sheets in the Bundesliga, at least, and he was a big contributor for Kobo's clean sheets as well. 3 goals, 89 tackles in all competitions. Our listeners gave him a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that's harsh.
That's kind of crazy.
That's
respectfully, y'all. Respectfully.
That is crazy. Also, his goals were all bangers.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I do feel
Anton Dino.
I feel like maybe people just forget about him a little bit. And there's other guys like he's just around, but I feel like he's made some big tackles and like come up clutch so many times. And like I said, the goals, bangers. So that is harsh. I'd give him a 7.5.
Yeah. 7.5. I would argue even 8 or 8.5.
Yeah, that's why I'm 8. He could be 8.
I think he had a very impressive season. And even in our worst games this year, he was always a standout performer. He was a leader of the back line. He always led by example. He was our captain on a number of occasions. He was monstrous in his tackles, like you mentioned. And I didn't really expect him to be that impressive going forward, too. It's not like maybe he's not on Schlotterbeck's level, but there were plenty of times where he's driving the ball forward, winning the ball in the attacking half, if not even final third at times. And he's finding himself in advanced positions whenever we're really lacking ideas going forward, tenacity, whatever it may be, to just like break through a team. And he offered that. And that's just on the offensive side of things too. I mean, I've already talked about when he's against the ball too. So respectfully, strongly disagree with this one. But either way, 30% of our listeners, 32% specifically, gave Valdemar Anton a 6 out of 10.
Damn,
And then we're moving on to the next
those muscles.
center back. Everyone, I think, has their basic like team photo for this presentation, but whenever I was looking up Schlotterbeck's, that might be for Champions League. I mean, it's obviously the Champions League kid, but he's doing the flexing, and I'm like, I gotta get that one.
It almost looks Photoshopped because proportionally his arms are too big for how small his head is.
I know. Whenever he celebrates, you're like, damn. Nico Schlotterbeck, 37 games played this year, 12 less than Valdemar Anton, and of course he had some knocks, but either way, he won possession in the final third 7 times in all comps, scored 5 goals, 187 accurate long balls this year. And, you know, I think we all know he's capable of his passing range, but just that number kind of stood out to me more than anything. That really jumped out at me. That is, I can't remember how much that is per 90, but wow, that is a very, very impressive. And Nico Schlotterbeck continues to be one of the best center backs in the world, in my opinion. He continues to improve his game as a whole and as a well-rounded player and center back. He's a jewel to have, and hopefully will continue to have for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, he's beautiful. I love him.
What would you give him out of 10?
I would give him an 8, and that might be low. All right. I was just the availability, and I know since he was injured for a time.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it was like he was out for a while. It wasn't like he kept getting injured, and like he still played 37 matches, which is a lot. But compared to Anton being available and playing 49, it is quite a drop off, especially from your center back who you just want to around. I'm not trying to say he's not reliable, because I think he is very reliable, but we just missed him for sure.
Sure. Yeah, I would say an 8 out of 10 is pretty fair. Probably not any lower than that, but not much higher either. A very, very solid season from one of the best center backs in Europe again. Switching over now slowly from right-footed center backs and the right side of the back line into the left side here, starting with Remy Benzabaini. 37 games played this season, same as Schlotterbeck's, 3 assists, 7 goals. I know, Jacob, you and I had talked about how he needed to be on the end of crosses more, getting involved in the box more this season. We didn't see a lot of that last season. I feel like he's one of our more decisive figures, especially in our Discord community and just in general online. It seems like people are pretty split on him. I still like him. You know, he came here as a free, as opposed to like a fullback, I guess you want to call him, like Jan Kot. And Benzabaini has been, he's slotted right in whenever Schlotterbeck has been missing. He's played a little bit wider too. I think he's been strong with both with and without the ball. And of course, he's had a few moments too where he's either, head scratching moments or just really horrendous errors. Definitely another contributor to that error with Kobel at Atalanta. But either way, I still thought it was a pretty relatively solid season. And 42% of our listeners gave him a 7 out of 10. What do we think about that?
I would probably give him an 8. And I think part of the oh my gosh, the divisiveness, or I don't know if that's the right word. I'm great with words, if you haven't figured it out yet. I still think there's a lot of, obviously we're rating him on this season, and that's the important thing, because there's a lot of, like last season I was not a fan at all. And I like, when he wasn't available a ton, like he was so out of the team. But this year, like he kind of just came right in, especially for Schlotterbeck when we needed him. And there was a time where I was like, does Schlotterbeck come back into this center back like in the rotation, obviously, but like, does he start? Because we were getting such good performances from Benzabaini. Yeah, and he's been solid and a little versatile. Like, can play left wing back more as that left side center back role. But yeah, solid season.
Which makes him, in my opinion, such like a perfect profile for a back three. He's one of the, he's a blend between a fullback and a center back. He's got pace in him, but he's got a decently tall frame. He's pretty skillful in the ball, but he's also very defensively solid whenever he wants to be. So as a rotation player, as someone that came on a free, who can contribute to goals and who can also still be solid in our back line, I think a 7 out of 10 is a pretty fair rating. A little bit wider now, looking at Daniel Svensson, 45 games played, 2 assists, 4 goals, 35 successful crosses. Got to share, he's not by any means an equal crosser to Rierson, but he has had a lot of successful crosses this season regardless. He's played so much football this year, and I feel like we just kind of ran him into the ground. I still think it was a pretty good year for him. There's definitely some room for improvement. He's still young, but for the most part, he's just like a pretty consistent, decent player. I forget what the rating was on this one. I'm actually surprised to see 6 out of 10. 32% of the listeners gave him a 6 out of 10. I'd probably go like 6.5, maybe 7 for me, but maybe 6 out of 10 is just kind of where people landed instead of a 7. But I can double
Yeah.
check that while you give me your thoughts.
I was just gonna say 7. I feel like he
Mm.
was just solid, and I feel like he did play so much. We kind of ran him. We did definitely ran him into the ground. Like we said it so many times. Like how many games in a row is this guy going to play? Like we kept just seeing him in the starting 11, and you also like that too. You like consistency, but when it's not having much rotation with Bundesliga and Champions League, yeah, it's tough, and I think you're going to see him falter a little bit because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually fact checked myself here, and I was right that about 26% of listeners gave him a 7, and then 20% gave him a 5. So there's a little teeter tottering in either direction, but we're kind of comfortably landing there in the 6 out of 10. Job Bellingham moving into the midfield line now. Of course, brother of Jude Bellingham came in here with a lot of hype for the last name and had some struggles at first, and that definitely had a problem or two off the pitch, not really with him directly, but his family. And there were some question marks there, but he's a kid who's got a really big chip on his shoulder. He works hard. He continued to put his head down and improving his game. He ended up playing 49 games for Borussia Dortmund this year, 4 assists, 47 interceptions, and over 2 tackles per 90 in the Bundesliga. I think he's steadily improved pretty much the whole year, and anyone who's listened to our show for the last few months knows that. And I think I'm excited to see him continuing to play for us moving forward and improve. Pretty solid first season, but only 32% of our listeners gave him a 6 out of 10, same as Daniel Svensson here. What do we think?
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like, or I can see why people land there, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was a 7 out of 10. I do think it was a very solid season for him because he is so young. He didn't come in and just like tear the roof off the league. It was kind of this steady progression, like you said. But I still think some of my favorite midfield partnership is him and Mecha, and I thought we saw some really good things from them working together. And so I am
Yep.
excited just to see how he progresses. He's only 20 still, so plenty of room to grow and just get better. It's still a transition coming into this league and just figuring out the team. So I don't know. I think it was a solid first season. Again, it wasn't like too over the top, too crazy, but saw some good progression there for sure.
Yeah. I've said it a million times too. I mean, him and Mecha are a very exciting double pivot going in for, just the future too. And he played more games than Jude in his first year. Jude only played 46 games, and Joe I can't remember how many starts each of them had, but either way, he's played more football than his brother there. And then also a good chunk of people put a 7 out of 10 and an 8 out of 10 for Job as well. So it kind of goes a little higher for him, but that's where we landed as a 6 out of 10 for our listeners. Still in central midfield, Marcel Sabitzer. Of course, big veteran of the Bundesliga, played for a number of clubs, including Leipzig and Bayern Munich. He's been kind of up and down at Dortmund in general. Came for a pretty hefty price tag. He's on some bigger wages too. 38 games played this year, 4 assists, 1 goal, 12 successful crosses. This was probably his worst year here, in my opinion. But it's also been tough competition, and he's just been a rotation player. He's not someone that's going to be a starter here going forward. But I would have liked to see more from him this year. What about you?
Oh, wow. That's lower than I
Almost 50% of our listeners gave him a 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. Yeah. I think that's lower than I thought because as a rotation player, yeah, I don't know. It's weird because he is older. Like this is going to be his role, right? Like coming in when you need him, and you're not going to get the Sabitzer that you saw in years past with Leipzig. It's just he's probably not going to be that player anymore. So when you compare him to when he was in his prime, it's pretty low. But I don't think he's in his prime anymore, and he's in as a squad player. So. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you expect, but
I can't put him on the same score line or ranking as Joe personally. So I guess I understand the thought process.
That's a fair point too, I guess.
It's tough. I should have added, half increments between each number, so you could have done like 5.5 out of 10 if they wanted. But either way, moving on to Felix Mecha, 47 games played this season, 3 assists, 6 goals, 36 successful dribbles. He's clearly improved dramatically and is now arguably the best player at Borussia Dortmund, definitely the best number 8 in the whole Bundesliga. A lot of my criticisms, strictly from a sporting perspective, have turned around, and he's improved a lot in a number of areas these past few years, and he's definitely slowly but surely become an engine in this team and how we operate. So very, very, very good season from Mecha this year. And I know a lot of even fans of the German national team are excited to have him at the World Cup this year.
Yeah, he became one of my favorite players this season and felt so important to the squad.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, I was gonna say 8. He's got the number 8. He should be 8 out of 10.
53% of listeners had him at an 8 out of 10, which, yeah, I don't really have many notes on that. Maybe an 8.5, I would argue, but very, very solid season. Kind of getting a little bit more advanced now. Your 8/10, maybe hybrid, starting with Carney Chukwuemeka. He's kind of become almost a little bit of a headache for me. Also surprising, I should have seen how many games he started, but 38 games played seems not accurate, right? I feel like
a
I've
lot
seen this
more than I thought. Yeah,
I feel like he's played like 2 games this entire year. Maybe that's just because he's been pretty forgettable, but only 2 assists and 3 goals in all comps. He had 22 successful dribbles in the Bundesliga. He is someone that, I think we all can see that he's capable of driving the ball forward, especially now in this system with Kovac. He's a little bit deeper. I don't think he's played really like high up in the front 3 or, as a number 10, but mostly kind of as that 8. And, he's had moments, he's had flashy moments of advancing the play and looking bright, but not as bright, I think, as his loan spell initially. And I'm wondering how we're going to continue using him moving forward. I feel like he's also a player that Kovac doesn't really like having as a regular starter or even a regular player. So I don't know. I don't really feel great about this.
Yeah, I would 5 out of 10. I wasn't going to be surprised if it was a 4 out of 10 that popped up. It's weird. Like, even his loan spell, it's like we saw these flashes, right? We saw some really good things, but we didn't see a lot of him. And some of that was coming in and already being injured. So it's harder to integrate in the team and get going. And so when we hear that we sign him, you're like, you get excited from those small moments. You also think maybe there's more of a plan for him. And then he gets here and it's like, okay, what's the plan for him? Yeah. How does he fit in this system? And like you said, maybe he wasn't part of Kovac doesn't fancy him or he's not in Kovac plans. It's like, cool. Why the heck did we buy him?
Yeah, then? Also not cheap either. I want to say he was like 20 or maybe with bonuses and add-ons like 22 million. So that was a pretty hefty fee for someone that we're not really seeing a lot of. I mean, 38 games. Maybe we are seeing a lot of him, but we're just not seeing much from him.
But I mean, towards the end of the season, and when we have Ignacio starting and he's on the bench and doesn't even get minutes, it's like, cool. What's the plan for him? And why did we buy him?
Yep. Now for a more of a pure number 10, Julian Brandt, who is obviously leaving the club as of, now really at the end of the season. Been here since now I'm 18-19 season, I think. And, had big expectations when he came here, and Brent boys for life still, but we were really, really big on him those first few years. And he was one of my favorite players in the team. And he just kind of slowly drifted, in my opinion. And his numbers are still like solid when you go back and look on paper, but he wasn't really like an X factor in this team as I thought he was going to be when he initially arrived. 46 games played this season, 5 assists, 11 goals, 17 times that he won possession in the final third in the Bundesliga. So a lot of these, as you're seeing probably as like a pattern here, a lot of these players are winning the ball in the final third. We're trying to get a bit more of the counter pressing involved and just winning the ball higher up. But those goal contribution figures, 5 and 11, it's kind of standard for what he's been producing, at least in the Bundesliga this year. So nothing crazy, but also nothing terrible, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I would go like a 7, and that's pretty generous, but maybe 6.5. But the listeners, 40% went with a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I wasn't going to be surprised to see a 6 out of 10. I do think I don't think he gets as much love as he always deserves. And
yeah, true.
There's been some seasons where it's due, but I do think he quietly does more than people think. I think he is a player where like he can be divisive as well. But I'm giving him a 10 out of 10 because Brant boys for life. I don't care what anyone says. After we wrap up this
It's the last
podcast,
episode anyway.
I'm
Let's just
starting
throw
a
all of our shit takes out there. Then
starting
they
a
have to
full
sit with
Brant
it.
boys clothing line is where I'm moving forward with after this. We should have dropped that shirt. We should have done it. We
Yeah,
had
yeah.
one.
We really
No,
should have.
I also think there was a part of the season like he played this key role in this season where he just kept getting picked in that number 10 or like that advanced where you'd think where it's like, cool, where's Adeyemi or where are these other guys? And like he just kept getting picked time and time again. And part of that is leadership, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I think he always deserves a little more love than people
Yeah.
give him credit for.
It's fair here. And now we're moving on to the front line. These last few players as we wrap up the squad analysis with Karim Adeyemi. 44 games played this season, 8 assists, 10 goals in all comps, 18 goal contributions. He's someone like Brant, in my opinion, who kind of, I mean, actually less than Brant, has only like, you see a handful of goals, a handful of assists really each season, like 6 and 6, 7 and 7. I mean, at least in the Bundesliga alone. And I'm needing to see more from him. I feel like he's more of a liability than a helpful player at times. With his first season or two, I'm like, man, he draws a lot of fouls. He draws a lot of fouls in good positions, and a lot of players cannot keep up with them. They're getting themselves booked. They're getting themselves, just mentally adrift, and they're getting upset. And you get in those players' heads, and you start making them more nervous, and they have to be on their toes more because Adeyemi is not only lightning quick, but he can be unplayable when he's on his day. But it's just flashes in the pans for me so far. And on the other side with drawing fouls, he's also committing a hell of a lot of fouls on the other side too. So I don't know if he's more of a liability or a helpful player. Initially, what was it, 25, if not 30 as a flat fee within bonus and bonuses and add-ons when he came on initially. And I'm not really seeing that level of a player yet, personally. I know maybe we could make a little bit more money if we do offload him, but it's not that special of a season for me. And we went with a 6 out of 10 for the listener base, 32%. I would probably land on that as well.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. 6 out of 10. I mean, I don't have much to add on top of what you said. You just want more from him, and like you see, it's tough because you see like some such good flashes or like purple patches. Like he'll be on a hot streak for a while, and because he is such a character, like I think people fall in love with him. But when you kind of break things down, it's like you need more from him on a consistent basis.
Yeah,
I do think he's someone who would strive with like if you just got he almost just needs like the right coach to really get him going. And I'm not saying like I don't want to talk about coach right now, but like he could flourish under the right guy, and I don't know if he's had that at Dortmund yet.
All right, now there are pure strikers here. Well, I shouldn't even say that because we have another player that's not a pure striker. But either way, Serhou Guirassy, 51 games played this season. That's a lot of football. 4 assists and 26 goals across all comps. Listen, this is no secret, but all of my issues with Guirassy last year have not only persisted into this season, but have only really gotten worse. He's wasted God knows how many chances this year, and a lot of that is just because he's flat-footed. He looks like he's just kind of mentally checked out. Doesn't look like he cares much against the ball and just without the ball in general. Even whenever we are in possession, he looks completely disinterested a lot of times. And I don't really like his attitude for the most part either. I mean, for someone of his size, he goes down way too easy. He just doesn't really embody what I want to see from a Dortmund number 9. If we could make money from him, I would love to see us get someone else in. I've seen reports now that we're looking at a number 10 specifically to help him for his game. I'm hoping that's not true because he's not, was he 29 at this point? Maybe you can get another season or two out of him at a really top level, but I think we should be looking to invest elsewhere, in my opinion. And, oh no, did I not add I guess I forgot that extra slide there, but I got it right here on this other page. 37% of the listeners gave him a 5 out of 10. Oof. But he's kind of across the board. There's a lot of 6s, yeah. There's some 7s, there's a few 8s even. And then there's one person that voted him a 9 out of 10.
Is that
and I imagine, I guess you're probably looking at it from the standpoint of like who else is going to score goals in this team. And like I guess that's fair. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you said because of his age, are we going to be able to get him producing at a high level over the next couple of seasons? Like, I'd argue we haven't been seeing him produce at a high level, so it's tough. Yeah, not a great year for him though.
No.
Again,
He's 30, by the way. I mean, only turned
yeah,
30 a few months ago, but yeah, he's not. He's turning the other side of the decade here. Fabio Silva, only a few players left. This one was a very interesting signing. I like to describe Fabio Silva as a very FIFA career mode signing. If you know, you know. One of those really weird ones. And that's not so much a dig at him. It's just kind of like a weird transfer on its head. I don't know. He played 39 games for Borussia Dortmund this year, 7 assists, 3 goals. Very, very underwhelming in the goal department. But I'm liking, what I'm seeing from him as with his mentality. I mean, he works very, very hard. He's complete opposite of Girassi. He's someone that's going to go and find those moments. He's going to find the ball whenever we don't have it. He's going to press. He's going to do a lot of the dirty work. He's going to make runs in wide areas to get other players in the central areas. So he's unselfish. He's looking to always send in crosses, and maybe that's a testament to maybe he's not having a lot of confidence in the moment. But I like to think this is more of just kind of who he is as a player. I haven't seen too many. I haven't watched him extensively before Dortmund by any means. So this was a nice little entry into just, who he is as a player and his career so far. I would obviously need to see more goal contributions next year. Definitely a handful of more goals, but it all kind of depends on how Kovac wants to line up. Either way, 6 out of 10 with 32% of our listeners there.
I think I almost feel like that's a little generous, but so you saw some good things here and there. I remember like we kept thinking, especially when Girassi was kind of in his drought, and we're like, I'd love to see Fabio Silva. I'd love to see Fabio Silva. So it'd be interesting to see if he was just the guy. I don't think that's going to happen, but if he just had a bit more of a run in and see if he could cross that threshold to like or break the ice, just start scoring and seeing if something could happen. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. You saw some really good things here and there. Some moments where you're like, just a little unlucky, maybe with him even getting the opportunity. But yeah, it was a very interesting signing at the beginning of the year. But I did enjoy him more than I thought I would.
Yep. I had something else, but it slipped my mind. I'll let you know if it comes back to me. And then last, but certainly not least, Maximilian Bayer, who I've gone back and forth on. If Brian is listening, our friend Brian Straub, I've gone back and forth on if I'm really, really liking or not. But I'm starting to lean more and more towards liking him. 47 games played this season, 7 assists, 11 goals, 19 times he won possession in the final third, 64 defensive contributions. As someone who played in like a front two at Hoffenheim and was strictly as a striker, comes in and has played what? Left wing back, right wing, right mid. He's played as a 10 at times. Even at times he's played, not all game as like a number 8, but he's even dropping deeper in the midfield, at least towards the first half of the season. And he has to play a lot of different roles that are not his, is what I'm getting at here. And of course, there's been a lot of learning curves with that, but he's been pretty serviceable as like a wingback in these last 6 or so months under Kovac. And not only is he excelling a lot more than I thought he would in his defensive contributions and just his defensive side of the game in general, but he's actually starting to be a bit more involved in attack, with and without the ball. And then he's getting on the end of a lot of these goals too. And he's come up in some pretty big moments. I know more recently the header comes to mind here in Munich. There's been a few other times where he's actually kind of pulled through for Dortmund whenever we're in a tough spot. So I would be a little bit more generous to him. I think we went with a 7 out of 10. I think there can be an argument made for 8. Maybe that's too generous, but definitely like a 7.5 for me. But either way, 47% of the listeners went with 7 out of 10 for Maxi Bayer.
I think 7 is solid. I think he's a player where you're like, I just want to see more, especially in some periods of time or like some streaks where you're like, I want more from him. But his versatility, and I wouldn't even say like, oh, he's such a versatile player. Like him playing wingback, like, God, why is he playing left wingback? But also he did some good things there. I also think you see some qualities. You see it like these versatile qualities where like, yeah, he could work as a winger. He could work as this 10, and you see why he's put in those positions. But I would just love to see him as that striker. And especially with what we saw from Girassi, I'm like, just put the man up top and let let him be the striker, and let's see what happens, and put the right
Yes.
guys around him.
Yeah,
I would just love that.
there's definitely been a handful of people that we've had either on the show or just reach out saying like they would like to see him as our number 9 going forward. And I'd be curious to see how he does against a back line in terms of, obviously, I mean, you just look at him, he's like not the biggest player in the world. So he's going to probably, struggle in the physical side of things, but I'd be very curious to see it happen. And you could still be successful without being the biggest striker in the world, obviously. So that's it for the squad analysis. Now on to our awards of the season here, starting with the player of the season. Do you have any guesses of who it is?
This one was... Yeah, my thought is Mecha. I don't know if it's going to go that way. Or it's probably Schlotterbeck. I don't know. It shouldn't
Guess
be Schlotterbeck.
what?
He didn't play enough.
I'm looking. Not a single person put Mecha.
Wow. I also see that too, because I feel like people don't... There's still this split on if people actually like him or not.
This one is pretty split. A good amount of the votes went to Kobel.
Okay.
A good amount of the votes went to Anton. Ooh. But just barely pulling ahead, player of the season, Julian Ryerson.
Oh,
like that little trophy there.
This is nice. This isn't the first time that I've been completely wrong, or in one of these, but that's a decent shout.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The known Mecha is crazy, just to, like, based on how high he was rated.
Sure.
In the survey, Kobel, I get that. I see that. I know he's been our player of the season the last couple of seasons, because of the things we said before, where it's like, I just didn't notice him as much. And maybe that's because he wasn't on his head as in so many games, which is also a good thing. That's why I probably want to put him. Ryerson, I like that. Nice little shout.
For most improved now, also pretty split. We had Felix Mecha coming in second, Julian Ryerson coming in third, Bayer coming in fourth, but most improved player. Wait, what? Why did I put Mecha? That's not true. Why did I put Mecha? It's Joe Bellingham. I feel like that guy that gave the Oscar to the wrong person.
How is Joe just improved throughout the season and not season to season, I guess?
Yeah, so this is just a most improved player of this season.
Okay, well, year over year, it's Mecha. That's why he's on.
That's so funny that I put Mecha. All right, well, it's Joe Bellingham. So if you're watching on YouTube, just go ahead and disregard that. Biggest disappointment. Oh, God, I hope I don't have any more screw-ups here. Biggest disappointment of the season. This goes to show you how Dortmund's season went, because it is just a giant pie of a lot of different answers. We had Kuto and Chukwuemeka tied for second, Girassi in third, and then a handful of other different players here. But biggest disappointment of the season, Niklas Sula, which is, that's very, very fair considering his wage bill, the expectations when he came here, and there definitely has been a steady drop off these past few seasons. This year, we've seen little to nothing from him, even whenever he does play. So, unfortunately, I know Sule is very happy with retirement, and we're happy for you. But we're gonna give you that trophy here for you.
Enjoy retirement, buddy.
Yep.
You deserve it.
Most underappreciated player. This one also has got a lot of different votes here, but we have Maximilian Bayer coming in second, Benzabaini coming in third, tied with Ryerson, and that was it. Excuse me. But coming in first, which is funny because so many of you rated him so low, but Valdemar Anton. Now this is what I was looking to see.
There we go.
Very, very well deserved. I don't need to talk about him some more. Go ahead, just take the trophy, Anton, and get off the stage. Signing of the season. This is our last award here. So obviously there was not many signings this past summer from Borussia Dortmund. It's really only 3 options. I'm not really going to pick or count Patrick Druys as the goalkeeper. So the options are Joe Bellingham, Fabio Silva, and Chukwuemeka. We had Silva coming in second, Chukwuemeka coming in third, and Joe Bellingham winning. Hey, I got the right photo this time for signing of the season. So 2 awards for him there. And
you're mailing these awards to them, right?
Yeah.
Or just
I'm going to print out this slide, fold it, and then just slip it in an envelope.
You're going to give it to the guys on the World Cup here in the States.
Yeah. Easy. So congratulations to all of our players who won awards. I know it means a lot to you guys from this podcast specifically. We're pretty, critically acclaimed and We're very well known, so appreciate that. Satisfaction. Now we're just going to looking forward as this survey wraps up. What is your satisfaction level with Kovac moving forward? I had this out of 5, and 37% of people had a 4 out of 5 rating, which I found a little surprising. So most people are pretty okay with Kovac having another year here. Now, there are a lot of people that voted 3 out of 5, but either way, we're landing on 4. What do we think?
I Yeah, I'm mixed. I guess 4 out of 5 makes sense to me because part of me is like, cool, he's stabilized things. But now this next year, we need to see an evolution, which is also tough because like we've been saying it, like rebuilding year, rebuilding year.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually with the guys moving on already, and like the guys who maybe we should move on. It is definitely a rebuilding year, and I just want to see an evolution of from a coaching and maybe coaching perspective, like a slight evolution. Like it's obviously going to change with the players we bring in, and maybe that's what he needs to change things up a little more. So I guess I'm fine to see how one more year goes, but I want to see some good things happen.
I'm wondering too if it's a thing of like, I don't know who Dortmund are going to be looking at outside of him. I know Fabian Herzler had an extension at Brighton. He was tied for my number 1. And then, of course, Sebastian Hoeneß is my other, favorite pick that I could have for a coach here. Both German, both young, both, very forward-thinking coaches, very bold in their style of play. They have some differences among them, of course, but I would be very excited to have either of them. So we'll see how the summer goes. I mean, it looks like we're pretty much locked in at this point, but either way, at least the majority, or at least a good chunk of our listener base is fine with him at the helm.
Is there any random question? Is there any coaches, like national team coaches, that you would think of that you maybe didn't?
That are elite that would
like come in after the World Cup? I don't
really want him back, but Thomas Tuchel is an elite coach at the national team level that like, had he not had a history with Dortmund, I'd be like, we should be going for him. But unfortunately, yeah. So I kind of reworded this question, but in the survey, it's if you were in charge, which players would you keep? And so you could select and multi-select of how many players you'd want to keep. And then I took the results there and I turned it into top players that Dortmund should offload. So these are the players that with the least amount of votes for players that we should keep. Marcel Sabitzer, it's a weird order here, but Marcel Sabitzer was in first. He got 10% of the votes. Duranville got 15% of the votes. And then Couto got 37% of the votes. So those 3 are not really well liked, at least for wanting to move forward with in the listener base. But everyone else actually had some pretty positive reviews. I guess Adeyemi is and Benzabaini are kind of in that next realm after that. But these 3 are the big standouts of people not wanting to move forward with. And I don't really have, definitely no arguments for Duranville just because Kovac is not going to play him. I definitely absolutely think there's a player in there still. I didn't see much of him at Basel on his loan spell, but I just don't see a world where Kovac plays him. And he's not going to stay here another year and not do anything, so he's probably gone. Sabitzer, I don't really know if we're going to be getting another central midfielder, so he could be a good rotation player. And Couto, I guess it just kind of depends on how much money we can get. But I don't disagree with these.
Did you say, was Guirassy in there at all?
Like I know, but he got, I have it right here. Oh, wow. He actually, no, I'm sorry. He was number 4 for people that we should offload. So there was those 3 and he was number 4, which makes sense. And then that's pretty much it that I'll have here on the screen. But I asked also, what do you want to see from the club next season? A lot of people put challenging for titles, obviously, more offensive systems and gameplay, a lot of silverware again, more consistency in our performances, and then improving on our creativity when we have the ball. And then I just kind of asked for any hot takes in general. This one says Silva, Couto, and Chukwuemeka make the game more entertaining to watch, and I want to see them play more, but they need to finish more. It's an interesting one. There's some, obviously other ones in here about wanting to win a title. Not a hot take by any means, but just other thoughts for the season going forward. And then a handful of people are really excited about new sporting director book as well. So that concludes the survey on that note. Thank you very much for participating, everyone. As always, I love going through these results. I love sharing the results and seeing where people's thoughts are at. It's always fun to go through and just conduct in general. So thank you, and thank you for a great season.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I always love this episode, even if I'm not prepared. But now it's kind of my bit that I don't like being prepared for this episode, and I just kind of roll with it and see what happens. And then I'm crazy wrong on some things. But yeah, it's always a fun episode. Yeah, I don't Carver. This is it for now.
Yeah, we're
I will
coming to
I
the end here.
We're coming. I'm coming to the edge. I meant to say this early on, but we kind of talked about it, like the community aspect of this podcast, which I say time and time again. Like, it's so cool to see, because that was like the purpose for me for wanting to start a podcast, was building a Dortmund community, and we have that flourishing, I'd say, in our Discord. So this is maybe my final Discord plug. But if, yeah, I know it's sad the podcast might be going away, and you might not be able to listen to us and my expertise on all things. I'm just Carver's expertise on so many things, and my just random bullshit that I make up. But what is over in our Discord is awesome, and there's so many people to talk with, talk about Dortmund with in that group. And we've said it so many times, but there's been like actual local supporter groups. Shout out to the guys in Nashville who linked up in our Discord and then made a supporter group. And I would love to see more of that happen. And especially as like we had some cool connections when Dortmund played in the States a couple summers ago. Like, that was so cool to meet up with some people, and just the people that have like helped Carver, like with the show, that we've met like very early on. Man, I was thinking about Adam Dorofsky.
Adam Dorofsky.
Like, I need to shoot him a text.
I hope Adam's watching.
Yeah, I miss that guy. And like, I'd say he was so like integral in the podcast when we got started. It was like the first few months we got plugged in with him and started following the BVB Frauen and the women's team. And then guys like Brian Straub, and who's been a little more regular, Jake from, why am I blanking? Oh my
50
God.
plus Donner.
50 plus Donner. Yeah. But like, there's been so many people who've helped make the show happen, but also it's because the listeners, and I'm not just trying to shout out people who've been on the show, but the people who listen time and time again. I remember when we started, and like, I think the first episode had 40 listeners, like literally 40. And like, that also is a good place to start. But then it was like, it doubled. Carver, for the first like 6 months, the listeners just kept doubling and doubling. And we're like, this is crazy. We're like, it's not sustainable. I know this isn't going to keep going, but it was 40, then it was 80, then it was 160. It was just nuts, like month after month, like how many people were pouring into the show and listening and seeing where people were listening from, like people in Germany, which is so cool, because I'm just a random ass dude from America. Like, why are you listening to me?
Shout out Germany, shout out Westphalia and Dortmund specifically. Yeah, we have always had a very core base from over there over the years, and I'm always amazed by that.
We get a lot of shit for our mispronunciations, but
yeah, that too. For us, yeah. Botching the shit out of all these German names.
But no, it's been so cool, and I'm just going to come back to the community thing, and that's where I'm really excited to see this keep growing, because it can. And I think in the world we live in, where community is so valuable, and like just having people to connect with, like that's, I've said a little bit before, like I run social media. That's what I do for my day job. And I hate social media. It is such a terrible place. And one thing I've really been thinking of is like a lot of like random side hustle ideas that I get that I don't really pursue because I don't have the time to do it, but it's all about community and how can we like just get people together. Like, I always have these ideas of getting people together, and then I have to look back and be like, yeah, we did it. So I try not to cuss on this podcast. I just dropped the F word out of instincts, because like we did it. We did what I think my goal was. We have a kind of a thriving little Dortmund community, and it's so awesome. And I'm so thankful for that. And I'm glad that it's going to keep going. And maybe now, like, honestly, I've been like checked out on a lot of things these last few months, and I'm excited to kind of get back into it in the community side.
Yeah, me too. And thank you, Jacob, first and foremost. Thank you for starting all this. It doesn't start without you, your production and work on things behind the scenes over the years, with being an awesome host and just face for, our show. A great person as well. Always fun to chat with you. And I wouldn't have done it if I didn't enjoy talking about Dortmund with you. So, obviously very sincere gratitude to you. And then the listener, of course, too, definitely not last there, whether you're joining us right now here for the first time or you've been here since the beginning. I want to share my deep and sincere gratitude for you spending your time with us. The internet is a weird and overly saturated place filled with a lot of bullshit content, with a lot of predatory content, and you have kindly given our show a try. I hope you had some laughs and found some good insight on Dortmund over the years, and the fact that we're as Jacob has mentioned plenty of times, the fact that we were able to build and now maintain a listener base and just a community for Americans, and as Americans ourselves covering a German soccer team, it's pretty amazing. And I'm very, very grateful for the support throughout the years. It's been very, very heartwarming. So again, thank you so much.
And now we're gonna go cry. And I've never gotten good at ending an episode, and I'll gladly accept that it's never gonna happen as I awkwardly try to close this one out. Go to the Discord. You can find the link in the description of this episode. I'm not even gonna put a description in the whole podcast thing. Carver, that's one thing after like every episode, I'm like, God, what should the description be? What should the title be? This one's pretty simple. It's the final episode. Go follow our Discord and get connected there if you're not already there. And we'll chat with you soon. We appreciate you guys so much for hanging out and listening. Carver, you got anything else? We'll see you later.
I wanted to say also, don't forget to continue following BVB Frauen. I forgot to mention in this episode that they remained in second, so they will not be promoted this year, but there's still resources that we are always providing for them, and we'll continue to provide, of course, in our Discord. We're going to continue following them, watching and following them and climbing through the ranks. So that's a big part of our show too. Always has since the beginning. Shout out Adam Dorowski. Shout out all BBB Frauen alum. Thank you for, Adam, for helping us get on that train and following them initially and having your great resources. And hopefully people can continue watching the rise of Dortmund women's football because it's very exciting.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. We will see you later.